Deaths in Glenmorach Manor, a fiction novel. Written by Shirley, read by Sir Lawrence Olivier. This audiobook was narrated using synthetic voice technology provided by 11 Labs. Chapter 8. Back to the present day. The grand Wallace estate lay quiet under the dim light of a cloudy morning. It had been 3 days since Benjamin Wallace's tragic death. The house was steeped in grief, but a sense of unease had already started to settle in its shadows. During the investigation, I was allowed to stay at Glenmorach Manor, all to make things easier and save time so I wouldn't have to make the long journey back and forth between London and Kilmarnock. Lord Wallace had designated one room in the mansion to be used as a temporary office for me. I wandered around the parlor, lost in thought. The evidence against Robert, Benjamin's younger brother, was mounting, and I had decided it was time for a meeting with him. He had been acting strangely ever since the murder, and his presence was marked by contradictions. An innocent face with a heart perhaps too bitter. I had already gathered several pieces of troubling evidence. His wet boots matching the footprints of the crime scene, the spare key for a hidden door in the library, a woman's blood-stained handkerchief with an R embroidered on it, and the fact that Robert and Benjamin had an argument just hours before the murder, yet none of this was conclusive. It was time for me to confront the younger Wallace. As the door opened, Robert entered, his posture stiff and rigid. His face was pale, eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep. His presence felt like an intrusion into the otherwise quiet, grieving space. "Mr. Owen, you wanted to speak with me?" I replied, gesturing to the chair in front of me. "Yes, Robert. Please, have a seat. I have some questions regarding your brother's death." Robert hesitated, but then, with a resigned sigh, he sat down, folding his hands in his lap. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken words, and I studied him carefully, noting the subtle nervousness in his movements. I began to speak, my tone even but probing. "I've been collecting evidence, and I have a few things I'd like to discuss with you." Robert nodded stiffly. "I know the police are involved, Mr. Owen. I have nothing to hide." My eyes narrowing slightly. "Very well. Let's start with the night of Mr. Benjamin Wallace's murder. Where were you when it happened?" Robert shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his gaze faltering. "I was in my study, working. I had to do some paperwork." He paused, clearing his throat. "I didn't know anything was wrong until Rosie came to fetch me. She was in shock and told me Benjamin was dead." He stopped himself, his voice cracking as if the words pained him. I studied him intently and asked, "And how long after Rosie told you did you come to the library?" "I went immediately, Mr. Owen. I didn't think it was real at first. When I saw him, I was in shock." Robert's voice trailed off, and for a moment he seemed distant, his gaze unfocused as he relived the scene in his mind. "When was the first time you knew that you should go to the library? How were you informed where he was found?" Robert looked up quickly, his eyes wide. "Rosie told me. She said one of the servants found him dead in the library." I said slowly and leaned forward slightly, my voice becoming softer but more insistent. "Are you sure you didn't know anything more than you've told me?" Robert frowned, clearly uncomfortable. I didn't know anything, Mr. Owen. I'm telling you the truth." I continued with a measured tone. "Very well. Let's talk about the evidence that has come to light. I understand you were in the mudroom shortly before your brother's body was discovered. Is that correct?" Robert looked confused and did not understand my questions that sounded like accusations, and he shifted in his seat again, his hands now gripping the armrests. "I'm not sure I understand what you mean, Mr. Owen." Then I asked him again, "I have a question. What time exactly did you return from work in the vineyard on the day your brother was murdered, Mr. Robert?" "I remember we met in the corridor earlier that day when I arrived at this mansion. Mr. Morrison mentioned that you had finished your work early due to the terrible storm and rain. Was that the only time you came back home from outside? Robert answered me firmly. I believe it was between 1:30 and 2 p.m., Mr. Owen. I'm not quite sure. I didn't look at the time. I bet you know it better since you were also there, as you said. He tried to address the question back to me. Exactly. Around 1:30 p.m. Did you go outside after dinner time that night? No, Mr. Owen. I went straight to my study room after dinner. There was still some work to be done. Robert answered me with confidence. Mr. Robert, were you aware that your father asked everyone to gather in the music room after dinner to listen to your sister's piano playing? Robert answered me, looking uneasy. Yes, Mr. Owen. I was thinking of going after I finished the report, and it wouldn't be long. I showed him the pair of boots in the evidence bag. You see, Mr. Robert, after the murder, I found wet boots traces in the crime scene near Benjamin's dead body. I followed the traces through the secret passage in the library, and they brought me to the mudroom that night. They are black with yellow stripes, just like the ones you wore earlier that day when you came back from the vineyard. Now tell me, are they yours? Yes, they are mine, Robert responded, his face showing confusion. Then I continued with my question. These boots were extremely wet and muddy when I examined them after your brother got killed. The pattern of the soles matched the wet boot traces found in the library. If you didn't go outside after dinner, your wet boots should have dried before your brother was found dead. Robert's breath hitched. I don't know how they got there, Mr. Owen. I never stepped back outside after coming back from the vineyard that afternoon. Nor did I step into the library wearing my wet boots after dinner. I don't know the reason why my boots were still wet and left traces in the library that night. The fact was I was home way long before, and as you said, those boots should have dried by the time my brother got killed. Why would I carelessly leave my wet boots in the mudroom after I left the traces in the library for you to find? Robert answered me in a slightly annoyed tone. His voice conveyed frustration. Did you go to the library that night after the murder happened? Robert's mouth tightened, and he avoided my gaze. No, I didn't. I pressed him with the following question. But you had access to the library, didn't you, Mr. Robert? Robert asked me back. I thought you kept the hidden door key to the library, Mr. Owen. I answered him instantly. I did. Which is now I'm asking you, why were you hiding the spare key of the hidden door in the library? I showed him the spare key from the evidence bag. I found this key, Mr. Robert. This is the spare key to the hidden door in the library, which I alone have been entrusted with. It was in your possession. How do you explain that? Robert's face flushed, and for a moment the mask of composure slipped. Oh, that key. I forgot there was a spare key for that door. I didn't mean to hide it. It must have been sitting there in the drawer without me realizing it. I didn't mean to hide it. In the drawer, you said? Really? I asked him to clarify the answer he just gave me. He just simply nodded. This key was hidden in the wooden floor in your bedroom, weighed down by one of your bed's legs. To me, it seems it was deliberately concealed. You should have given me the spare key as well after I declared the library as the crime scene. And no one is allowed to enter except me or the authorized police investigating your brother's murder until the killer is caught. Why hide it in the first place? What were you afraid of? Robert seemed to hesitate, his eyes flicking to the side as if searching for an escape from my intimidating question. I don't know. It's just, I thought if I needed anything from the library, you would not allow me to access it. What matters is that I didn't do anything wrong, Mr. Owen. Mr. Robert, I sharply demanded the true explanation, as his answer was extremely chaotic and confusing. He finally confessed. All right, yes. I entered the library past midnight after my brother got killed, but I didn't kill him. I swear. I'm telling you the truth, Mr. Owen. For what reason did you enter the library secretly that night after your brother got killed? I kept chasing him with more questions. I have my reason. I left my belongings there, and I thought I would get it before it would be used against me. Robert answered me, but was still trying to cover up the real reason. I leaned back, giving Robert a moment to compose himself before continuing. I also found something else, Mr. Robert. A woman's handkerchief with bloodstains on it, embroidered with an initial R. The handkerchief was tucked away in your desk drawer, hidden among your personal belongings. Robert stiffened, his eyes narrowing. He was shocked to see that I had found the handkerchief inside his desk drawer, buried under the letters. He never expected me to search his study in such meticulous detail. That's not mine, he answered shortly, seeming like he didn't know what else to say. I know it belongs to a woman, I said sharply. This handkerchief is obviously not yours, but I'm sure you know it belongs to Miss Rosie Taylor, don't you? Why would you hide her handkerchief with bloodstains in your drawer? Robert's face twisted with emotion, a mixture of fear and frustration. Rosie is very careless. She often drops her things everywhere and loses them. When I saw her handkerchief below the desk that night, I was sure she dropped it accidentally while she was assisting my father working in the library. She didn't do anything wrong. I don't know how it got there for sure. I already asked her, but she said she didn't even go to the library at all that day. Perhaps you can ask my father for confirmation. He may be disabled, but his memory is sharp. And it's only been 3 days. I watched him closely, sensing the shift in Robert's demeanor. You're protecting her, aren't you, Mr. Robert? For what reason? But Robert was just silent. He seemed like he didn't know what to say. Are you in love with Miss Taylor? I insisted he answer me. My personal feeling has nothing to do. He hadn't finished talking, and I cut him off. Just answer me briefly. Yes, we do love each other, if that's what you want to know. Robert answered me with an annoyed tone. I said quietly, and yet, you've been hiding things. You've been lying. You were in the library after the murder, and now you're protecting Rosie by concealing evidence. Why? Why all this effort for a woman who could have the possibility of committing the murder? Robert's jaw clenched. I didn't kill my brother. I wasn't in the mudroom that night, nor outside. I didn't step into the library wearing my wet boots and killed my brother as you are suspecting me. You should try harder, Mr. Detective. Because even though you're right about one thing, it doesn't mean you're right about everything. I did not do that bloody murder. He almost sounded like he was yelling at me. I was working in my study room. I swear. Robert's voice was raised and sharp, and he had not finished talking yet. And yes, I entered the library after midnight using the secret passage. Because when we all gathered in the library to witness Benjamin's dead body, I saw Rosie's handkerchief with the bloodstains was there. On the floor, near the desk. It is true that I was protecting Rosie because I believe she didn't do anything either. After dinner, I walked her to the powder room, and I went straight to my study to finish some work. Rosie said she wanted to stop by my study after. Whether you believe me or not, this was my alibi at that time. Robert answered me, sounding frustrated. I responded in return. How do you know Rosie didn't commit the crime, Mr. Robert? How can you be so sure? She could have just murdered Benjamin that night, accidentally dropped her handkerchief, and then run to you as the messenger delivering news that your brother was found dead, pretending like she didn't know anything. Robert answered me. I know her. She loved Benjamin, and she's not the kind of woman who seems capable of murdering someone. I was very unsatisfied with his answer, then spoke with a cynical smile. I took this as merely your assumption about Miss Taylor affected by your feelings for her, Mr. Robert. Unfortunately, it doesn't comply with the principles of a crime investigation. Robert tried to convince me. I took my time doing my report while waiting for her, but then the lights went out, and I heard a very loud scream. I was confused about why someone was screaming when the lights went out. In the middle of my confusion of searching for candles, Rosie suddenly came to me with the news that Benjamin had been found killed in the library. I could see in his eyes he was telling me the truth. His eyes flickered with an almost desperate intensity. I know. Ben and I often had heated arguments. I worked hard for this family while Benjamin, he wasted his life, constantly asking my father for more money, drinking, and partying with his friends. But I swear I never envied him for being the heir to the Wallace. I was just sick of him being irresponsible, and my father never saw that. But now he's gone, and I can't even grieve properly because you're looking at me like I'm the murderer. His voice almost sounded like crying. Mr. Roberts, are you aware of who's the next heir apparent to the Wallace after your brother died? I asked him. For heaven's sake, Mr. Owen, I didn't kill my brother for the sake of a bloody inheritance. I caught an angry tone in his voice. I let the silence hang between us for a moment. I had all the pieces, but something still didn't sit right with him. The evidence pointed towards Robert, but was he truly the killer? Or was this a man so desperate for attention, for validation, that he had dug himself deeper into a hole of suspicion? One last question, Mr. Robert, I said with my soft but firm voice. Do you have any regrets about what happened to Benjamin? Do you wish he was still here? Robert's face twisted in anguish. I never wanted him dead, he whispered, his voice cracking. I just wish my father had paid more attention to Ben's behavior and taught him to be more responsible. But not like this. Not with his death. I studied him for a long moment. I had what I needed, but there was more to this story than Robert's words. The final truth would come only after I had pieced together the last fragments of this family's tangled history. I said while rising from my chair. Thank you for your time, Mr. Robert. I strongly advise you to stay in the estate until this investigation is finished. This interview has helped me greatly. I'll need to speak with Miss Rosie next. Robert answered me. I'm not going anywhere, Mr. Owen. He turned toward the door. My thoughts were unraveling the web of evidence and emotions, leading me to the bigger question. Who actually gained from Benjamin's death?